they're looking at ways to improve the player experience when trying to find a group in light of them having no... words are really hard. Them removing the dungeon finder.
Yes.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Does that mean backporting the pre-made group finder that we have right now? Or does that mean upgrading the dungeon finder tool that had already existed in TBC and Wrath to be a bit better? Because I remember using the initial one in Wrath. It's like it was a bit shit, but also people just didn't seem to use it that much.
They, in the interview, because I read a little bit of it, he did get into that and said people aren't really using the one that's in TBC at the minute, but they're kind of happy with like functionality-wise. They're looking for the pre-made group finder. Basically, they know there are problems. They are trying to work out something that people will use better. They don't want people to not have tools. They want to be like, yeah, this is a good experience for you to find a group. But they did have one concern with the pre-made group finder, which is the fact that when you sign up or like you host a party, that's you suggesting you'll lead, and there's like an onus on you there. Whereas the TBC one is just, yeah, you just put up, I want to do this, and then you can look and see other people who want to do it and grab them, or you can just wait for someone to pick you up and be the party leader there. So they kind of wanted that. I think they know that they have this problem of you can't, that binary of either hosting or not. There's nowhere in the middle. So hopefully, like they actually, hopefully they find a way and it does feel better. I definitely, obviously, think there's not really much of a problem in general queues, but then I guess it's a thing of gameplay experience versus social experience, and I think it's hard to blame the dungeon finder as it is for how the social experience has developed over time, because there's so many other factors in the real world as well. Obviously, so many other games are moving that's like that way in general too. So it's like, I don't know if the group finder caused the problem or coincided with the problem actually beginning and happening, but I guess we'll have an answer to that, hopefully, by the time they actually make this experiment, which is nice. They actually are thinking about that stuff, which is nice. Very good.
Next thing then, raid lockouts. So back in TBC, a raid was a raid. That was it.
Back in
then in Wrath, we had normal mode.
Yeah.
Normal 10, normal 25. Those were your two difficulty modes, and generally 10 was seen to be the easier one. Then Guild War happens. There's 10, there's 25, but then there's these new little buttons you can press on some of the bosses to make them hard.
Very immersive.
And that wasn't a separate loot lockout or anything. And then you have Trial of the Crusader, where instead of the hard mode just existing within the regular old boss fight, now, you right-click your character portrait, you set a raid difficulty. We got normal and heroic, but we also have 10 and 25 mode.
4 raids a week, let's go.
Yeah, meaning you could just do 4 raids a week and get all that loot.
That's very good.
So that was a lot to do, and not exactly, something that they want people to feel like they're really obligated to do. Yeah. So they're going to try to figure out a way where the number of required runs feels just a bit more reasonable.
Yeah, I've got a solution. Because we're in this alternate timeline where we're taking another stab at Wrath, we're taking another stab at Classic. Get rid of 25 man.
You mad, man.
I don't actually believe that, by the way. It would be interesting if they did actually say 10 or 25. 1 or 2. So I can't imagine them doing the difficulty lockout. So I imagine it'll be lockouts between 10 and 25 are shared. But I'm assuming they're going to talk about this for like months and probably ask people and stuff.
Yeah, they'll definitely involve it. With how they do it, they'll involve the community.
Yeah.
Which is why I like. I guess something then, race and faction change services won't be there. Because that wasn't a thing at that point in time. But they are playing with ways to balance racial abilities, and they want to do something that is fantasy forward. So that's faction balance stuff. Literally in terms of game balance, and you don't have anything to do about that because of there being no changes. However, the idea that a paid service could, bring you over to a more optimal character certainly is a bit sketch. But then on the faction and balance topic, basically, they're looking at a way to solve this problem, especially when Grasp in mind.
I don't even know this is possible. Outside of literally hard, that's the problem, because they tried I believe they tried the hard lock of, characters limit, that's it. But then abandonment causes issues. So I have no idea how they feasibly do that, because I know at the minute TBC is a bit of a shit show, where there's one balanced PvP server on EU, and that's Firemon. It's got like 10k queues. Just because like this is the good server.
When you say balanced, do you know the rough breakdown of the factions?
I think Ironforge.pro is like, I think it's 55-45, something like that.
Wow.
It's within that realm. It's definitely very, very close.
Beautiful balance.
Yeah, it's not bad. But that's like the community all moved to Firemon to make that happen. And everyone's kind of moved there. 60-40 apparently, yeah. So like at the minute I'm playing on Golemag, which is like, I'm Alliance there, but that's like 85% Horde. But you couldn't deal with Firemon queues because it's literally peak time queue, can't play. Like literally 2 hour queue, peak time. Tried to log in like 7 o'clock in the evening, just no. Sorry.
Ouch.
Come back in 2 hours. Like that's quite a lot, actually. That is just unplayable, basically. So it's interesting. I don't know if they can actually solve that problem. Maybe there's something else that they're trying.
They're smart people.
They're smart people, but this so far everything they've done to solve this problem has just not worked at any point in the game's history. They're like, how do we deal with this?
I guess it's a thing of what's personally optimal isn't optimal outside of the scale of a single person, right?
Yeah.
So everyone just follows the trend that makes the most sense for them, and suddenly it's all a mess.
Yeah.
Until I guess what the community finally manages to make like one nice balanced server. Another thing then, speaking of balance, I suppose, pre and post nerf boss mechanics won't really be a thing. So there you go.
Cool.
Certainly when you look at all this stuff in Classic, you almost think they should just kind of buff every boss to be harder than it was when it shipped. You'd almost think that, right? The community's just better at the game at this stage. Or certainly more people are going in armed far more with knowledge.
Yeah, where that's the thing where back in the day, World of Warcraft, well, okay, there's definitely a lot of like throughput you could gain through skill, because people didn't quite understand the ABC always be casting. People didn't even understand to fill every GCD. They would just kind of, I don't even know what people did back in the day, because I know I wasn't a good player either. People just did whatever worked.
It was just guides that people would make,
Yeah.
going to the Elitist Jerks forums, Creparian videos, right?
Yeah.
Remember Creparian Hunter videos? There'd be people who would play your class that you'd watch on YouTube, like, Tribunal X Hunter, Warcraft Hunters Union, all those sort of, it brings me back.
Yeah.
There you go.
I feel like people would be really annoyed if they buffed it, but at the same time, it's like it's a knowledge problem.
Yeah,
and the knowledge is very solved.
Yeah, so overall, I'm very, very excited for Wrath, and I'm gonna do this one.
Yeah, that's why I have.
I need to completely clear out lifetime, etc.
Yeah, that's why I've just been ruining my own life to play Classic instead. Yeah,
good.
Level 20, 25 Druid.
Okay.
Alliance and Golemag. It is man, the hybrids are so good. I could talk for about an hour about how the part that no one ever talks. Well, people talk about it like decently, but I think the conversation kind of gave up, and people are so focused on different parts of it. The real thing that makes the games so different from maybe I don't know. I can't remember how Wrath actually felt to play like solo, but the thing about at least my experience in Classic so far versus anything after Kata or Mop, fighting stuff is hard, not skill challenging, number challenging, RPG challenging. I've not had to manage a resource in retail since Kata. Not had to think about mana or anything outside, not to eat or drink. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I'm approaching this pull. Okay, do I have enough mana to kill this? And that's a very different game. But it's a very different game, and I guess everything worked for that game system. Sometimes it didn't work too well, but everything worked for that game system. The talent system worked for that game system. The hybridization of stuff like Druid worked for that game system. Where the idea of me, hitting something in cat form, having to, oh shit, that's something else has joined me. Okay, I'll root, heal up, and fight again. That stuff was meaningful. And they are completely unwilling in Modern to make your average solo content like that.
Yeah.
And you can kind of understand why. Because I don't want to level as a Holy Priest In I mean, they were probably okay, but it feels like I'd be a lot slower if I were trying to level as a holy priest than a feral druid. Different times and a different holistic experience. That's the way I put it. A different holistic experience.
It's going to feel so different having a mana bar as a hunter.
Yeah,
That's going to be a blast.
yeah.
Man, yeah, just the gameplay pace of MM in...
I mean, that's the thing. Like the what do you call it, comeback or energy regen? Me turning into cat form and having no energy, and then it's like, oh, there's 20. Okay, yep. No, there's another 20. Okay. Oh, there's another 20. Like my rotation at the minute is basically, I just keep Tiger's Fury up. Sometimes a rake or a claw, and it's so much harder. I'm pressing all less buttons, but it's so much harder. Because I have to think about my pulse, I have to think about my food and my drink, I have to think about everything.
Well, it puts all the minutiae of the game mechanics that are there into so much more stark focus.
Exactly. That is an exceptional way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that just means there is net more attention being paid because there are less things to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And I think that, maybe a degree of that ended up being what helped World of Warcraft have such a great success.
Yeah.
Because if it sort of launched with, super fast pace and all that stuff, it's like, you just wonder. But also game design trends have changed.
Yeah.
I remember times when Blizzard was in WoD, they were toying around with the idea of there being some downtime in rotations.
Yeah.
And the community feedback was pretty much unanimous. Nope. Doesn't feel good.
Yep.
So
that's just the games change over time, and it's very, very difficult to figure out how to go back. They can't really go back. It's literally a different game.
Yeah.
But it's like worked so much better. Like the fact that when you're playing the game the whole time, as opposed to now where you're kind of hitting buttons and going, everything's fucking melting. It's like, I'll pull 4 mobs instead of 8. I'll be nice this time. Versus, is that mob too close? Fuck. Will Fairy Fire pull that out, or do I have to make sure and root the other one? If I Fairy Fire that and root, will I have the mana to throw a rejuve and then shapeshift? Fuck, I have to work this out, man. It's great.
Very different to playing Torghast.
Yep. Yeah, especially as a druid, where you just run in and go, I'll just do 500 million% extra damage from stealth. Sweet, job's done.